Hello.
Hello.
Hi. So today we are going to dance with Lisa Schåman. Lisa, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yes, I'm Lisa, and I work as a dancer based in Stockholm. And I've been freelancing here almost 10 years.
Uh-huh.
Graduated from DOC, now juniors.
Or SKH.
SKH
Yeah.
in 2015. And since then I've been performing in works, choreographic and dance works. And also been engaged in other organizations like in Sister Space and Höjden and surfing around as we do.
You're generally a part of the scene and a great thinker and dancer, I would say, which is why I'm really excited to dance with you and to bring your dance maybe to more people. So what is it we're going to do?
We are going to do a dance that I recently did the first time in August. It's playful dance that it doesn't really have a name yet, but I call it the ABC dance. And it should I say the context or explain it first?
Yeah, that's great.
The context first. So this August I was at this summer university program at Performing Art Forum in France.
Also known as PATH.
PATH, yes. Yeah. And we were a group that was part of, we did a newspaper that came out weekly. And on Thursday evenings, we printed it in the basement of PAF. Mm-hmm. And one of these printing nights, we decided to have like a long durational performance kind of thing while we were printing the newspaper. And so we wanted to dance. And then I got the task to develop a phrase. And I had a few hours, and I was thinking, okay, what is a phrase that would be that you could learn quickly? Also, if you're not a dancer, what are like movements that would be sort of okay for most people to do? And so in order to remember it also, I just decided to go through an alphabet and start with A, come up with is it called noun?
A noun?
Noun,
yeah.
Yes. I always pronounce that word wrong. A noun, and then come up with a movement that would mean that word.
Yeah.
But very, how you say, arbitrary or dubious, or very just simply put an equal mark between a movement and a word.
Yeah.
And then just...
So it doesn't have to be explicit or exactly if it's aeroplane, it doesn't have to look like an aeroplane.
No, exactly.
Okay.
It doesn't need to look like that. It can look like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was good since we were a bit in a hurry. And I did this together with a dancer and a choreographer and writer and a painter, and her name is Andrea Zavala Folace. Mm-hmm. I think I pronounce her name okay. So she and her child was also part of creating this alphabet dance. And
how old was the child?
I think they are almost 2.
Wow. Okay. Great. Nice.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's like you come up with a noun, and then after,
Come up with a movement for the noun.
yeah, exactly, and it's like the first, second, or third choice of of a movement that you come up with. But you're also a bit in a hurry. Now I put the structure for the whole dance. Just
And you do the whole alphabet, right?
Yes.
So you start with A, B, C, D.
Yes,
E, all the way
exactly.
through
And you
to
can
Z.
write it down like A, apple.
Yeah.
And you make a movement.
And do you do all your nouns? Write all your nouns before you create all the movements? No, you do apple, and then you make the movement, and then you go to B, banana, and you make the movement, and so on.
Yes. And what you do after you've done this alphabet is that you do it several times.
Mm-hmm.
And what we did during this durational performance thing was that we did it very slow,
Mm-hmm.
and the people who knew how to do it start doing it. At the same time, there was a few people who hadn't seen the dance, but they were just copying it. So we did it very slowly.
Mm-hmm.
And then more and more people attended to this dance. And we did it for 3 or 4 hours. At the same time, a group of people were like printing the magazine or watching, coming in and out from the dance, and just like standing in different positions. And I also think, because at that point we did it standing, so all the movements were either mainly with like hand gestures or arm gestures. Mm-hmm. There were a few with the legs, but we didn't move around in space, which was after 2 hours, you started to like wanting to be creative, so you started to do the dance laying down or sitting on a chair or standing in a corner or being very close to each other or very far away, so that you sort of let this like very simple movement structure develop through time, and together with others is preferable, but you can do it alone also, I think.
Yeah, so it's almost split into 2 parts. First, create the movements, and then do them until they become something, in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And we're doing it together, and maybe people at home or people listening are doing it together as well. Should we have the same alphabet, or should we make 2 separate alphabets? How would you suggest? Because I guess you all had the same alphabet.
We had all the same. So... Same. Yeah. I think we should have the same.
Yeah, because then we're sort of dancing together then.
Exactly. Yeah.
Great. So maybe since there's 2 of us, we'll split the alphabet and do half and half.
Exactly.
And maybe if you have 3, you could split it in 3. If you have 5, you split it in 5. And
exactly. And when we do it together after making these movements, I'd say that we go to do it together without talking, without like explaining what the words are from the alphabet. There's just this awareness that these comes from words, but we who haven't done those specific letters doesn't need to know what that is.
No, great. So we're going to start by writing the alphabet, writing nouns for each letter and creating movements for them, and then we're going to dance them without explaining the words, and we're going to repeat that for how long shall we do?
I mean, if we try to really make this alphabet quickly, let's say, could we do it in less than
10 minutes?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe 7 to be really like...
7 minutes. We did it in 7 minutes. And then we have time to... How long do you usually...
Well, it's really up to you. But so, I mean, I think since this is about repetition, I think we should challenge ourselves and maybe go for, I'm thinking 40 minutes.
Yeah, that's nice. Yes,
yeah?
Let's do it.
You were worried I was going to say 3 hours.
No, I was worried that you were going to say 10 minutes. So I was just like, raise it.
Okay, 40. But people at home, you can choose, I guess, how long you're doing. But
exactly.
The longer you do it, the
more things will come out of it, I guess.
Great.
Yeah.
Then, so we're going to pause, and you can pause at home as well. And then we will come back and reflect. Great. See you in a minute. Okay, great. So we're back, and now we're going to just have a short reflection.
Yes.
I can speak a bit about how it was. How was it for you today?
Well, I haven't done this so much, and we have done it before, and I think, I mean, I'm still thinking about what happened during that 4 hour.
Yeah.
That was also like contextualized by like a shared performative happening. And what it is to be like only 2 of us in a studio. But I think there's like a lot of things that happens when you do it for a long time, so you sort of find yourself in places thinking about like different things, and sometimes you drift off, and sometimes you have to like you try to nourish the experience with like different things. And I think that reflection is like quite interesting in relation to like my experience as a dancer, also like what skills that I use in different types of works.
Like to stay sort of focused in it, because it's a lot of concentration.
Yeah.
Like you've just learned this sequence, and it's a little bit like a rehearsal, but at the same time not. And then because we're learning each other's simultaneously as well, and then we're presenting our own.
Yes.
So there's this like sort of intense concentration, and then like you say, I guess after a while, how do you keep it interesting? And for us, we were walking around, we were lying down, we tried it back to back.
Yeah, different formation towards each other. We also added a few things, like as soon as you start walking and doing it, you also invite like different kind of rhythms and stuff like this. Yeah. And I think, I mean, you can, the longer you do it, you can like go into like try to add super many things. Yeah. But I also enjoy when it's very dry and like it's in the small changes of just like, okay, what happens if I try to bind all of these different materials together? What happens in the in-betweens? Yeah. And also after a while, towards the end, I had like drift off a little bit sometimes, which I really enjoy when dancing becomes like this kind of, spacing off or like walking without any aim of going somewhere else. You mean like a type of
flow, or?
Yeah, or like flow, but more like a resting. Not so like passion in that flow. But then it was nice to go back to really think of the words again. Yeah. Because then I had like created a relation to these movements in different ways, and then coming back to this is albatross, this is darling, this is, then it's like then it invites also to like movements as like writing in space. And I like also that it is this arbitrary or random way of using language that's like fake sign language or fake semantics or something like this.
Yeah, definitely. And it's sort of like you say, like also as we talk, you know, like the between the words, or like we shorten words and it just becomes like I really notice it editing these podcasts. I'm like, oh wow, there's hardly a word there, but we understand that the person's saying the or something. But like in the movement. And what was interesting for me was like I was trying to add things like to see if they would appear next time, like a clap or like making I think it was actually Bear, because I sneaked a peek at your list, like more claw-like and more tension, but it never reappeared. And so it was also like discovering the essence, or like what's is like necessary for that for those things to remain, like what keeps them. And it's funny, I think also I feel the tension as well, where I feel you're trying to slip over words of mine, which I'm like, no, that's the word's there. You got to do queen and then rabbit, like you can't you can't do like go straight into rabbit. You have to do queen first. And things like this.
But it did happen. One of my movement did sort of mold into something else, because I saw that you did something that probably was you witnessing me just correcting my hair.
Yes.
And then I saw that you started doing it each and every time, and then I was like, okay, then this movement is this, because this was also what happened after with a lot of people, where no one really knows who is the author of these movements also, because we were like a bunch that started, and then after a while we were plenty of people that just kept on arriving in this room as well. So then, of course, much more is happening when you're several and you start looking at someone. It's like, the movement looks like that, but that person just arrived or something, and you it really copies quite quickly. But this hair thing now, it was quite nice that it sort of because for me that word was joker. I was doing this like smile, and then the fingers is like continue on the airs, and then I don't know, I enjoy that it's like, now this is joker, like putting on glasses. And
I always tended to smile there as well. There is something like it produced a smile. But one of the things that occurs to me, or like that it brings up, is a sense of like, is this performance or is it performative? Like, I don't know. I think maybe I need to explain myself, because I've been thinking about this recently of like, does dance actually perform? Like, there's a sense like cooking is more performance, in the sense like it produces a dish. You know, you perform. I've been watching The Bear, the TV series, and it's all about like people cooking. And like they really like, they have to do everything at the right time to produce something. And yes, as dancers, we have to do everything at the right time, but it's not to produce anything exterior to the actions. No. It's the actions itself, which makes me feel like it's more relational. And like in here, it feels extremely relational. We're communicating, we're having a conversation, the movements are adjusting, and we're learning from one another. And it just has a very different sense of performance, of like actualizing something.
I was also thinking about it in relation to being like clear towards you when when you followed my movements or the
Yeah.
movements that I made up, that you sort of, I played with being sometimes like pedagogically clear,
Yeah.
and like, and that sort of vibes into a kind of performativity that is very aware that it's being witnessed,
Yes.
and that like what I'm doing now has meaning. So, but it's also pretending because it really doesn't have any meaning at all, and it's just like a play or like a game that we're doing.
I felt like sometimes you were trying to tell me things. Like I felt like you were holding before doing a movement because you knew that I always struggled to remember what came next, and I always felt like you were like, "Come on, you know it. Go on."
No,
like
it was because I had forgotten my own movements.
but there's this like unspoken tension, and the unspokenness of it is really palatable, and like you say, how it the performativity of it is really exactly, it has different intentions. At some point I felt like we both got quite tired, and the performativity became really like floaty,
and loose in like where the intention where.
And then sometimes super playful, like, ha ha ha, oh yeah, and we can do this, like, like, oh my god, let's do this together.
Yeah, but it was also fun when we did it on our stomach.
Yes, yes.
And we sort of, I started laughing because we had the same like interpretation on how we were going to do some of the movements on our stomach, which is also quite nice that we sort of know the material at that point. Yeah. Like, so that we have a similar understanding of what it should be.
But it's also like the surprise in the problem solving being the same. Like, how do we do that now?
Yeah.
And also recognizing there's like jokes almost like, now the how would you say that? Like wiggling of the fingers coming from the sky like rain.
Yes.
Like now we make that a noise against the floor. Like there's sort of like an in-joke of like, I could have done this in the air still, but I'm choosing now to hit the wall.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, coming back to whether it is, what did you say? If it's a performance or I mean, I think it's maybe not. I can't say yes or no to this question.
Course.
But I think that it is like a here and now thing, and that is also contained in like or like belongs to a sort of performative act or performance act or
I mean, maybe performance isn't the right word. It's just, I mean, it's also because we're reading these texts as well that we're going to be in this study group, which it's a text by Angela Lepecki and I forget.
Anna Vujanovic.
On landscapes. But they both have like an interpretation of like how performance is being used today and expanded maybe or like challenged. And I think it's in relationship to that as well. And I have to think of like, there's always a tension when one speaks about performativity in dance in relationship to, say, social dance. Like it's clear, like, yes, you are presenting gestures and movements like in partner dancing and stuff, but are you really performing them? Like there's a different quality, and especially like in those two texts, they really link back to the history of when dance was put onto stage and showed to other people. And I feel like in this practice there's an awareness or a coming about of something that it isn't for the stage, but it's still very much part of dance, and maybe it's still performative in a way. And that's why I was like saying relational, because I was trying to conjure up a new image around like what is that thing doing.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I haven't done it alone, so I don't know how much. Then it probably would feel, as I mentioned, of my experience of it doing it now, it probably would be more like tracing, like skills or knowledge or experience that that I'm busy with as a dancer, and that this could be a way of like tracing them a little bit and naming them or being aware of them.
I wondered if one would be more forgiving, but I don't think so. Like, and what I mean by that is like when one makes a mistake, when I make a mistake, I feel it. Like I'm like, oh no, I missed the zebra, or I missed the such and such. Like, but I think even if one is practicing on their own, surely you skip over something, and maybe you get better at like, oh well, I'll catch it next time. Yeah. But and I definitely had that actually at one point where I skipped the whole thing and went straight into something else, and I was like, oh well, it'll come back. But it's really hard not to have it affect the rhythm of the thing and be like, oh shit, wait, I have to go back. There's something, there's a real tension there in like staying in the repetition of like, what steps come next. And
and also, I mean, the first time I did it, as already said, was a kind of a performance. And then it was also like in the same room as the newspaper was printed, and this printing machine is making sounds, and when several people are doing it, it's sort of kind of by itself, people start to organizing that I'll be the one carrying this color cylinder thing that you put into the printer. I'll be the one putting the papers. You'll be the one that put them in order. So it becomes like this chain of labor activities.
Like a factory line.
Yes, and also with the sound that it was like when he was printing. And then doing this dance, not speaking, then the dance became also this factory line that we were like the machine that was just like we have to keep on doing these movements the same way that they have to keep on doing their movements, because it's all part of making this newspaper and printing this newspaper. And I mean also with like newspaper printing words into like paper, and the printing of these arbitrary words into movements was like there was like this kind of
relationship. But also it's in reverse almost, like you've started with the words and you're going into the action. And it also speaks again to like everything that is done for the printing, like the putting the paper there adds to what will occur. Whereas every movement doesn't add to like anything that we can really tangibly understand. However, you could argue like it adds to our social group. It adds to our connections, maybe to who we are. I don't know. And I also thought, I think that or what I heard and what I saw when we were doing it then was that people really enjoyed it and to do it with each other and learning this dance and doing this dance and like to place them in different formations towards each other in relation to each other. And someone said, because afterwards I said it was based on these words, and I told him the words, and he was very disappointed because he was like, oh, it was so holy when we did it, and it's just these words. It's so like made up and shallow somehow. I mean, and I mean, and that's what happens with reading the newspaper as well. Like, the words come off the page and they go into the person's interpretation and into their life, and it constructs how they view things. It reworks or reconfigures, or it causes them to be opposed to something, or it causes them to be affiliated with something. Like, it has this like dynamic shift in value and everything. So it's interesting, that they preferred it when they didn't realize that the actions, the things that were created by the words had origins or had like actual words to them. I'm wondering also about the length of it, because normally we work with phrases which are 8 or 4 or 16. Like, we work in the sort of measurements of music often, right? Make a phrase of 8 or something like this. Where this is 23, if I know my alphabet right.
But each movement could be different length, of course.
True.
But they tend to be quite the same. I don't know.
But still, like, that number of markers or, like, points that you have to remember, it's quite a long sequence before it gets repeated. It's not 1 2 1 2 1 2, but it's
exactly
has like there's something that draws it out over time. And you also said like to do it slowly, and at some points I tried to slow us down even more, because I was like, actually there really is something in taking the time of like being with each word and each movement and feeling its linger and how it carries into the next.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm actually dancing while I'm trying to think. There's something like it also has like a quality of thinking. Yeah.
I also want to add that I realized when I was listing my words that it doesn't need to be nouns
or knowns.
Knowns. But preferably not verbs, I think.
Yeah.
Because that sort of
like flick or kick
jump or
it's too dance related perhaps at the moment.
Exactly.
Maybe.
And it becomes like it becomes more about like how do you say when you're an instruction that is a bit
like a score.
Maybe. Because I started to, I think I put in between. And I still think that like propositions or adjectives are fine. I'm
not very good at knowing the difference, but I think mine were all that sort of thing. But
should we read each other's? No, maybe not. It doesn't matter actually, but
I mean, why not?
It's just curiosity.
As like a final thing. You start since you're A.
Albatross.
The bird.
Yes. Bear. Bear.
Bear. Yeah.
Cat. Here I thought, okay, not only animals. Darling. Echo. Fever. Goggles. Hard. In between. Joker. Not. Level.
Nice. And mine, now you're going to realize that I don't know my alphabet, but still, mine is Monday, noon, as in the time of day, open, parachute, queen, rabbit, under, volcano, weather, X-Men, yes, zzz, as in sleeping.
It's funny because your rabbit,
yes.
I was convinced it was rat.
Rat?
Like queen, rat.
But I see, I have yes, which is maybe not a noun, and under, maybe not a noun. Open, maybe not a noun.
But it's, I think it's totally fine.
But we'll do that again, and we'll have you back, hopefully.
Yeah.
But how do people
reach me.
Yeah, how do they reach you? How do they continue to...
Well, I'm in Stockholm, and sometimes I work at Höjden. I'm on Instagram.
What's your handle?
Lisa Maria Magdalena.
Lisa Maria Magdalena.
Yes. And I don't have anything. I don't have any performances planned this fall. Not until next year. But I will mainly be in Stockholm.
But we have a performance coming up in 2025.
Yes.
Performance for small, young people aged 12 months and under, and all their friends and family.
Yes. And I will also work with Oda Brekke,
yes,
who I've been working a lot with, and Malin Elgan.
Yeah.
And also Karima Neusser.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you have a lot of nice work. So you're out there, and but thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
And we'll see you again. And thank you for listening.